So in other words, if you go to God and you have an unclean heart and you're praying for someone else's healing, will that prayer be answered under the circumstances that you bring?
Well, I think it will be heard. So will it be answered? So I don't think that even if, let's say, all your sins have been taken care of, and you have faith, it's not necessarily going to be answered. It's not 100% formula that my sins are forgiven, I have faith, therefore healing is guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
So, but can it? But your question, I guess, is can it impact your answer? The healing from God. I mean, I think that if you're praying, if it's in God's will, and you're praying for it to happen, because Jesus told us, pray thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So he didn't tell us to just pray because, God's going to do what he wants. But yeah, go ahead and pray that his will be done. I mean, he was telling us to pray his will be done for a reason. So I think prayer still impacts or helps God's will to be done on earth.
Okay.
Because there are some times when God's will isn't done necessarily. Like if you think of the worst sin you've ever committed, that probably wasn't God's will. So there are situations where but you could have affected it to be done if you hadn't done it. You could have helped God's will be done. So I mean, I think the prayer, Jesus tells us to pray thy will be done. So the prayers have an impact on God's will being done. Okay. So now we'll look at another type. So we've seen healing or sickness caused by sin, sickness caused by for God to get the glory, which we also looked at last week. In Job's example, Job got sick. Job didn't get sick because he was out of God's will. Job got sick because he was in God's will. So because God said Job was a righteous man. It wasn't somebody else. God said Job is a righteous man. But then Job still got sick. He allowed it, but God allowed it for his glory. So there is sickness that is, and same with the blind man, it was for God's glory. And so when that has nothing to do with your sin, nothing to do with you, but it could have to do with if you're saying, I'm making myself available to be used by God in whatever way it's going to give him the most glory, then you're making yourself available. And if sickness is one of those ways, then if you can be an example to help someone else or something can come out of it, then you're making yourself available. So it could, or if it could be for God's glory.
Which brings up another point. I mean, this stuff is just coming to my mind. Even when we were talking about Job, right? And, Job's sickness wasn't because of his sin.
Right.
But still yet, I'm thinking about even if I, get sick and I pray and I had this faith, God, I know you're the, you're the creator of all, and I have faith that you will heal me, and he doesn't heal me. Where's my faith? Do I still have faith that that God is the creator of all, that this is, the God that I serve, or does my faith kind of...
A lot of people, when they have a sickness or a layoff, financial troubles, or a death in the family, a lot of people do lose their faith in God. And
or it can bring you closer to him.
It can,
Yeah.
but a lot of people lose their faith because their faith was that, if I believe in God, then nothing wrong should happen to me. If I believe in God, then I should be able to get everything I want. Then if I believe in God, then my life should be smooth. And the faith, God didn't promise that. I mean, you saw even the example that everybody uses of the 3 Hebrew boys, that had faith. They said, we're not going to bow down to you, throw us in the fire. And they say, but people don't notice that at the end of their prayer, they say, They say, our God is going to deliver us. You can throw us in the fire. Our God is going to deliver us. And it's like, wow, look at what faith they have. But then right before he throws them in, they say, but even if he doesn't,
Exactly.
we're still not going to bow down to you.
There you go. That's the word.
Yeah, right.
So the
That's
faith
what
isn't
makes the
that
difference.
he's going to save them on the fire. It's like, I'm going to follow him even if I have faith that he's going to deliver me or that he can deliver me.
Right.
I have faith, that he can deliver me from this. Said, but even if he doesn't, it may not be his will to deliver us from this. It's like, but even if he doesn't, we're still going to follow him.
Yeah.
So that's what the faith is. Because if it's only faith when things go your way, then that's not faith.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just.
Then we don't know him. We don't know his word because this morning I was listening to a pastor. He was saying that be careful when you ask for God to come to your life, because that doesn't mean your life is going to be better now.
Right.
Now you're going to have more trials, maybe.
Yeah.
So, but if you know the word, if you know there has been people that have gone through like Job stuff and without sin, right? Then we have to go through trials. He's gonna sift us like gold, he says.
Right. And sometimes we talked about the wilderness, going through the wilderness, where the children of Israel had to go through the wilderness. They got a promise, but they had to go through the wilderness to change them. They had to go through something in order to. David, he got promised to be the king, but then he's hiding for his life in caves. Jesus, this is my beloved son. He went into the wilderness to be tempted. So sometimes you may have to go through things to change you in order to be ready for what God has waiting for you.